Hey love bug, it's me, Emma Upton, clarity wizard, resistance whisperer. Welcome to Let's Build the Real Thing. This podcast is where we remember your work was always inside you, and bringing it to life is meant to feel like an adventure, not a checklist, not a job title, this wild, sacred calling that feels like a boiling hot bath with a scalding brew and your fave bickies. I show you how to tap into your magic so the map becomes real. And the thing you can't stop thinking about, you make it together. Let's build the real thing. Ready?
What if you're already ready? Can you play with that? Can you be in this episode with me under the question of, what if it's already there? What if the next level that I'm working so hard for, that I'm looking everywhere else for, that I'm strategizing for, that I'm trying to be at one with myself, I'm trying to surrender with, I'm trying to do the work to surrender, I'm trying to do the work to make. What if you played with the idea it is already there? And what if you moved through this episode with me to land in it, during it? Because I'm going to take us through a process. I'm going to show you how this literally lands, because that's what the brain's looking for. It's constantly looking for evidence. Well, show me how that's available. As soon as you believe that it could be, it will. Whenever anybody tells me anything, I'm like, it is so. Oh, I won't come off my mat. It is so. When it is so, I'm not sure, but you having that determination around it, it is so. So what if you are here with me now and I take you through this journey and you come out on the other side with this knowing of, holy moly, what if? Sound cool? Yes, this is how I play. This is literally how I create the next level of my work over and over again, because I play here and I'm taking you for the journey, because this has all come from the last few days. I found myself as a cub leader. There weren't enough volunteers. I was a teacher for 12 years and they needed some help at the Christmas play. Suddenly, we're in May, the end of May, and I'm invested. I've got a necker. I've got the lot. And it comes off the back of an experience at Cubs, and it comes off the back of diving deeper into my work yesterday and seeing it in a way that I've never seen it before. And that iteration just keeps continuing to get true. So let's bring those two things together so your brain can go, okay, so that's how it works. Cool. And then I'm going to take you through an exercise at the end so you gain that clarity on your work. Sound cool? Sound like a nice little adventure to have? I hope so. So at Cubs on Tuesday, the person who was leading the activity couldn't make it. And so somebody else who'd kind of pre-created the session was leading, but they needed somebody else. I didn't have a clue what was going on. And whilst we were putting tents up, I was dreading it. I was like, oh my God. She was outside orchestrating the tent. So I had all the Cubs just off the cuff, didn't know I was having them. And here we were. And we just rolled with it. She laid out the activity and I just had these creative ideas of, oh, we could do a little drama piece, and oh, we could do this, and oh, we could do that, because I was just alive with ideas, because I'm connected to that space that we're going to walk through, that you already know how to access. Don't think that I'm trying to be over here being like, you already know how to access it, but we can all do it in different ways. Your way is profound for you, but come in this way and see how it feels. So at the end of the session, the leader of the Cubs came up to me and she said, that was amazing. And I was like, I just love it. And in that was amazing, there was an intonation of like, how? And I said to her, it's because I've remembered how to be a kid again. And I haven't remembered how to be a kid again. I've learned to be a kid, because I think I came out of the uterus with anxiety. I think I came out with my shoulders for earrings, with my hips clenched together so that I couldn't, my shoulders about for earrings. I remember lying in bed as a kid and wishing, I can't wait till I'm a grown up because maybe I won't feel so worried. I just thought, so I would watch children playing at the play park and watch the kids running up the slide backwards and be like, oh, they're so naughty. Like, I was a grown up right from the get-go. So I've had to teach myself that way of operating is stifling, is paralyzing, Nothing good can get into my life from that space. I had to remember from lifetimes ago and go back and go into myself and invite myself into these spaces that say, this doesn't have to be the way you operate, Emma. What would the most fun choice be here? What are you worried about everybody else saying about you choosing the most fun choice and doing it anyway and having them speak anyway? You know what? You know what I found by being a grown-up kid? Everybody wants in. The grown-ups, the kids know what to do. They're just vibing. Most of them aren't like me and they're anal from day one. Most kids know how to vibe. We'll just join in. And in the main, it's a party every now and again. You get Sharon. And it's not fun, but mostly it's not. And as I shared this with her, she crossed her arms and she said, well, that was taken away from me at a very young age. And I knew exactly what she meant, because that's one of the more difficult parts of this gift that I've been given. I can see. And I knew what that meant. And I'd experienced something so close, it was scary. Of course, that was the cub pack that my little boy went to. Of course, this is now where I'm a leader. Of course, she's a leader of children. She's amazing. And so I took her through a very brief, powerful exercise right there. I didn't ask for permission. I just was like, this is on purpose. Here we go. And she burst into tears and hugged me. And I was like, how do you feel? She's like it's gone. It was insane. That's the power of just one moment and one shift. Anyways, that conversation reminded me of how I approach everything. The old me would have needed a 5-part plan, an action plan, to have known what the objective was, to have been able to just take this room full of kids that I didn't know what we were doing and just run with it. The reason I'm able to run with it is because I've remembered adventure. I've remembered that we're on a spinning sphere, spinning around Earth 1,000 miles an hour that feels like stillness, held by forces that we can't comprehend, the perfect distance away from the sun and the perfect distance, climate, temperature, for everything on life to be sustained. That's wild. I remembered that, and I remind myself of it all the time. And I remember that I'm here for a blink, and it's meant to be an adventure. And the whole world doesn't want us to remember that. But this is meant to be an adventure. And I approach everything like it's an adventure. Not everything, because taxes, there's some really grown-up shit you have to do as a grown-up that you can't actually evade. Even if you've got a husband that you try and put all like that stuff on, you still have to do a good chunk more than you want to. But so much of it, even the really boring parts, gets to be an adventure if we remember it. And that's how your work gets to be formed. It gets to be formed not through the plan, not through the ritual, not through knowing exactly what's going on, but the brain will still want to. My brain still wants to do those things. It would have really liked the lesson objective. But I choose not to listen to it. And in this adventure, a different iteration of the work transfolds. So if we take mine, because it's helpful for that brain to have this rigid container of, okay, well, that's what it tangibly looks like. Because that sounds cool, but also you don't have my job. You don't have my idiot of a boss. You don't have this Emma, which makes my circumstances exceptional. The same way the cub leader folded her arms and said, I can't do that because of this thing. What I'm asking you to do is, what if you could? What if, in spite of those limiting things that are absolute in your life, and you could argue wholeheartedly with me, and you would have a very valid point as to why it doesn't apply to you, how your circumstances make it different, how you're the exception to the rule of being on an adventure and allowing your work to find you. I get it. But what if we could open up that trio of terror that are dedicated to terrorizing you, that live inside your brain, to just quieten down for a minute, because the evidence is important for that part. So my work at the beginning was realizing I had anxiety, which I didn't even, to having this physical bodily breakdown through the anxiety, to going through the traditional methodologies of the West and the East and realizing talking about my shit didn't help, and meditating my shit, trying to meditate and heal my shit out of me, didn't help. I just became more aware of what was going on. I could verbalize it. I could tell you why, but I couldn't do anything about it. I was called then to create my own piggyback sensory hack, the Be Anxiety Free Find formula, to be able to choose out of these programs, these systems, these stories, these beliefs, these things that were making my life just feel like shit, had me in my head overthinking everything. So that became a body of work. It became online programs. It became a book, and it became my full-time business. I left my teaching career and came to that. That was the first iteration of the work. Now, what's happened now over the last 18 months is there's a new iteration. When we go all in on the work that we're here to do, a new iteration can form. And now this is all landing. And yesterday it landed so clearly of the stages of the work. So the first thing that you need to do is to be able to name the thing. Name the thing that you're here to do. And the difficulty is you can't do that with your brain alone, because it just folds its arms and says, well, that can't happen because of X, Y, and Z. And we believe it and we listen to it. And then we just carry on with life as it is without you knowing your work, without you knowing the secret of what you're here to do and how to do it. So to be able to name the thing is about going underneath the surface. That's what we do in Find the Thing and Make It Real. Like, this is literally me taking you through the parameters of that container. So, but you can do this. Naming the thing that you're here to do without it being the trio of terror deciding, well, this is the stamp and that's it. Thank you very much. The adventure of being able to name it. Then the adventure of being able to find it. So when you're naming it, the process that came through last night is it's like a spark. You need friction. To get a spark, you need friction. What do we want the least as human beings? We want the least resistance. Give me the path of least resistance so that I can just try and have a smooth existence. And then you find out that you're like my big nanny who died a couple of weeks ago, 99, still mad at the world, never got close to her work, mad at the people that she loves, just disillusioned and discontented with her life because she never went after the thing that she's here to do. She'll have to come back again and do it all over again, which is annoying, and I feel for her. Being able to name the work is creating that fire, the spark, the friction that then you can go on to make into a fire. I'm obsessed with alchemy, being able to take these base metals and transmute them into gold, into the most precious metal that there is. And you can't do that without a super hot fire. Create the spark to allow the fire to take over. And then from Find the Thing, you can make it real. Once you've got that fire, once you've taken those base metals, taken those experiences that you have been through that are here to cause friction and are to enlighten you, to wake you up, to a torch to be able to see further, a fire to be able to breathe light into the places and spaces you didn't know it existed. When you can see with that fire, then you can make it real. But what the brain wants to do is it wants to say, well, I want to know the tangible things and the step. It wants to be me at Cubs. Give me the plan, give me the things, show me what to do. If I'd have insisted on that, I would have never free-flowed and went on an adventure the way that I did with the children, and we were raucous and we're having such a cool time. And the learning that happens in that space is beautiful because the mind is open. It isn't closed and everything is open to receive and available, and you can co-create together. It's glorious. To which the Cub leader would have never asked me the question and given me that lovely feedback. To which she would have never had that moment of release, that moment of friction, and it was awkward and she didn't want to do it, but she did it. We created the friction. We made the fire of those base metals that are weighing her down and holding her down. We turned it into gold. Now, I don't know what that little part of that puzzle is going to do for her and her work, but I promise you it is something, and it's profound because that was heavy. That was a big, heavy base metal that she was just dragging around with her all the time. And now it's gold. It's like the old Japanese bowls. Is it Japanese? Where there's breaks within the bowl and they fill it with the cracks with gold. It's that feeling of like, look at the armory, but the gold and the beauty of it all. That's what we're meant to do. And then from that, we take that gold, that little golden thread, and we can weave it into something that is close to what we're here to do. You are never, no, that's a lie. I'm always checking myself. Telling the truth is a super important part of this process. I will come back to that in a second. The reason that your work is going to unfold itself to you is for is when you can operate out of these mechanisms, that you have learned to trust yourself. You've learned that you're going to dedicate yourself to this no matter what, no matter how hard it gets, no matter what your energy levels are, you're going to consistently keep going with this. And some days it looks like a 10 out of 10, and some days it's a 2 out of 10 or a 0.2 out of 10. But you show up for your work no matter what. When you do that with consistency, you open a gate to receive. A gate to receive from beyond your thoughts and your conscious logic. That's where your work's going to be gifted to you, and it comes in insights through your brain at the end. It works from the belly up. It comes from deep within you, and all of a sudden it's like, oh God, and yeah, and this is how I make it real. This is how I'm going to birth it into something tangible. Trusting yourself to follow it through, so that the universe, in that wild, mad space where all of your answers are delivered from, knows you can be entrusted with the magic. You can be entrusted to follow through. If you're going to be getting this big stuff, that you're going to do it. It also increases your capacity, that you can hold more. The more that you show up, the more that you take the steps, the more that you're willing to keep going when the evidence isn't there and it doesn't make sense and people think you're nuts. And you're like, I know. And yeah, this feeling is so deep and profound in me. I'm going to keep going. You build your capacity. I can't believe how little sleep I need, how little to eat I need, and how alive I feel. Not all the time, because that'd be ridiculous. That would say I'm not a human. But in the main, I'm so connected with this space where this work comes from, that my capacity has increased. The truth. I am fierce at going after the truth. Not absolute answers, but with questions more than answers. When something presents itself, there are a million questions that sit underneath it. When the brain is saying, well, just give me an answer so I can close the door, I'm there battering the door down, being like, that doesn't make sense. Like, what about this? What about that? So asking these questions. When you do this, when you start operating from this space, you start making space. No longer are you holding on tightly to these ideals and the way that you think it's meant to go. You're making space to let go of those things, so the way it's actually meant to happen can present itself to you. And you've built the trust. You're going to tell the truth. You're going to batter down the doors, and you're going to keep going until you truly understand, oh shit, this is how I make it real. This is how I birth it out into the world. The real bit, the logic, that I understand it now, is the very end of the process. And yet we've got a human brain that just wants it to be the beginning of the process. If you want something that feels like coming home to a clean house, clean from top to bottom, there's no dishes in the sink, there's no laundry in any of the baskets, there's no wet laundry there is in my washing machine right now, it's been on its second wash and it's sat there, and this is the second day. I have to get it out today, or else I'm going to have to put it on for another wash. None of that. You got a brew that's scalding hot, straight out the kettle. You got your fave biscuits, and there's a bubble bath filled to the brim, and it's like friendly to your food, so you're not going to get thrush after it, because bubble baths are not the one, are they? Thrush baths. And it's just that feeling of this is enough, of pure contentment, of I don't need anything outside of me, and yet I know it's all going to collapse into reality. That space, you know it's your work. It feels like coming home. That is the space. And then can you imagine what can land through you? The ideas that you're going to be able to execute that come through you from that space. That's how your work is waiting to be birthed. That's the work that we do in Find the Thing and Make It Real. We take your nervous system, we take your mind patterns, we take the resistance that's in the way, we take all of the things that are just screaming at you. We need a plan, we need a strategy, we need to know how it works. And yes, I'm not so delusional that isn't important, but I promise you, the way you're meant to do it will look nothing like the way anybody else does it on this planet. Even though there's an element of it called Creative Confessions, which is all about stealing other people's work. And I know you could be freaking out like, steal people, that's plagiarism. The whole episode takes you through the nuances of it. But that's to get you to the point of realizing, holy moly, I wasn't meant to do it any other way apart from this way, and only I knew this way. If that sounds like your jam on toast, if you're like, yes, I know all the strategy, yes, I'm doing all the things, yes, I've got all the accolades, and it still doesn't feel like it, message me on Instagram, More Than This by Emma Upton. Like, we need to chat. You need to go into this work. So I promised you that if this is something that is resonating with you and you're like, yeah, I know there's a different way of doing it. Yes, I know my own answers. I want to access them. I just want you to take 60 seconds with me here. And I want you to take a big inhale through the nose and sigh with the exhale as it comes out. Breathe in expansion and openness. And sigh away anything that is not that. Thank you very much. One last inhale through the nose. Inhale. All that is for you. And exhale anything that is not. Now close your eyes. And I want you to imagine you're holding the edge of your thing, even though maybe it's not tangible, maybe it's not logical, and as much as your brain wants to scramble around it, don't let it. Be here with this. Just hold it. Feel the sensation of it in your hands. It's pulsing. And it's big and it's expansive and it's hot with possibility. Now I ask you, what are you scared it will burn away? Allow it to land. Feel this. This was never about finding the perfect plan. If it was, you'd have it by now. This is about remembering who you are, the being that was born to hold what's already trying to arrive inside you. And remembering this isn't a schedule, it isn't a plan. It's an adventure on a spinning sphere that makes no sense. When you open yourself up to this, you're remembering the fire. That's what we do in this work. We come to this space and we allow this to lead. Now, inhale through the nose. Big expansive inhale, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then breathe in again when you're at the tippity top. And then exhale any last remnants of that thing that you're trying to hold on to, that you're scared is going to burn everything down, and allow it to move through you. And slowly and gently open your eyes. If this sparks something in you, if you know you're holding something hot and holy that you haven't dared name yet, I want you inside find the thing. It's where we meet the fire. It's where we build the trust. It's where we light up the path that is already next. I hope this is helpful. I hope this has been a reminder of your power. I am grateful for you being here. Much love. So that's us for today. If your soul's whispering, this is it. Listen, you're not circling this for no reason. The map is real. The magic is yours. The adventure, it's already underway. You feel it. Tell me what sparked. I'm always on Insta for the big, wild, weird, brilliant conversations. And if you've got a friend who needs this fire too, please share the gold. And remember, your work isn't something you force. It's something you find by remembering what was always yours. I'll speak to you soon. Much love.